Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the sounds of G-Style. You ready?
Yeah, it's like my mind is in the loop A, meaning it's in a new state. Aboard a jet blue plane, sorta like I'm on a 2-day. I must be tripping. I just said all of that to say that I am on the.
Hello, my name is Juan.
Hello, my name is Butter P, aka Amanda.
And
Amanda, aka Butter.
Yes, ma'am. And I am K Nuff, aka K Nuff. No, aka Kanata.
Statistics. Now I got a missus, a princess is so fly, I'm living limitless.
It hurts sometimes and it hurts inside, and no one understands, so we try to hide away.
So you guys actually sound like you're from New York, but I read on your website that you're from South Florida. Why do you guys have like that New York sound in your music?
It's a great question.
A lot of New Yorkers know.
Because I am from New York.
Oh, okay.
We reside in Fort Lauderdale now, but I'm from Brooklyn, New York originally. I let them say where they're from.
I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
I'm originally from New York as well, but I grew up in South Florida, so I don't know why I sound like
He gets it from us.
mystery.
Cool. So then, like, how did you guys meet and become RhemaSoul?
Well, originally him and I were in a group, and we did music for several years, and we actually traveled as missionaries and going into just different countries, doing concerts and school assemblies and outreaches and all that. We did that for a few years and started to kind of make a name for ourselves, if you will, in our city. And Butter P was doing, she was a solo artist, and she also was doing music locally, and she was traveling a lot, and we ended up doing a lot of the same events. So we just kind of joined forces, and I'll let them share with you their relationship.
And then what had happened was, and then we got married. This is my husband. So we got married, and we just kind of started talking about it, and we did a show together, and it just kind of started to fit. It just felt right, and so yeah, that was it. We just became RhemaSoul, and the rest is history.
So RhemaSoul, what is that? How did you guys come up with the name? What does it mean?
We ran across the name Rhema while doing missionary work. There was someone on the team with that name, and that was the first time I had heard the name. And then we were like, that'd be a cool, name for a group. I mean, there's nothing really magical about the story, but we came to later find out that the word Rhema means enlightened word. And it was like, wow, that'd be cool if we ever form a group outside of the group we already had. And we did. So it was like, let's call it RhemaSoul.
Awesome. Cool. So were you guys raised as Christians?
No. I guess that's an individual question.
Right.
As for me, K Nuff, I didn't get saved until I was about, I always forget if it was 16 or 17, but somewhere around there is when I really started taking the things of God seriously. So.
And so you guys, were you also not raised?
I was raised in a Christian home, yes, and then I kind of fell off a little bit, not a little bit, a lot. When I hit about 17, 18, 19, 20, those years, and then got my life right after that, and I've been serving the Lord ever since.
Praise God. Praise God.
Yeah, I didn't grow up in church either.
No.
Just Christmas and Easter and that kind of thing. But got saved when I was about 18.
So can you guys tell us, how did you come to Christ if you weren't raised in a Christian home or anything?
Absolutely. I was, like I said, I was raised in New York, and I was, kind of on the pathway, the road to whatever it's called. What is it? Perdition. And yeah, I mean, I was just going down the wrong path, and my mom saw the environment that I lived in, wasn't conducive for me to become the young man that she wanted me to be. So we moved out of New York. We came to Florida, and when I got to Fort Lauderdale, I had never been in a church setting where I really knew, what the preacher was talking about. I was always forced to go to church. So it took me a long time, and then one day I was in a church setting, and I got invited to like this play. It was called Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames. As corny as that name sounds, I went to that play and literally got heaven scared into me, And from there, I started really just thinking about the things of God. I mean, I still didn't take it seriously, but I was at least able to grasp my head around the concept of Jesus dying on the cross. And about maybe 2 years later. So that happened when I was about 15. I just really started to understand what it meant, you know, what all these things meant, and that's when I started taking them seriously.
Cool. So, sir, you want to tell us?
Yeah. As I mentioned, I didn't grow up in church. When I was about 17, 18 years old, actually him and some other friends that I had played basketball with and kind of had that relationship through that, they invited me to the youth group, you know, that they were members of. So I went and, you know, connected with a lot of the young people that had similar interests such as music and sports and all that kind of stuff. So little by little they started to influence me for the good. And I consistently was going to church, and then just one day finally made sense, and God just showed up and changed me. So.
Amen.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So let's talk about Fingerprints, your last project. What was the concept behind it? Who does most of the writing?
The album pretty much, it's really a good representation of where we were at the time. A lot of times our albums, you can kind of tell where we're at in our lives spiritually and personally. And at that time, we had all had kids, and I was actually pregnant the first part of recording the album. And then after I had my daughter, I went in and I finished the album. But it was just pretty much about the title Fingerprints and the concept was birthed when we were in Tallahassee. We did a college show up there at FAMU and FSU with some students up there, and it was just about the fact that they were telling us so much about how we've been able to make an impact in their lives, but at the same time, like, they were making an impact on ours, just hearing their stories and that type of stuff. And we just started realizing, like, everywhere we would go, like, we get to meet all these people, and you always find a few that really you connect with, and your fans and your supporters they're really making an impact on you as well. And it really was kind of birthed out of that, and just, you know, what kind of fingerprint are we leaving? What kind of legacy are we leaving? But besides the music, because I mean the music is all good and stuff, but like what kind of influence are we leaving outside of that? You know, are we living, you know, are we giving a proper message through our lifestyles and the stuff that we're, you know, saying, and the way we're living? And so it was really about that, just, you know, leaving your mark on this world, and what type of impact are you making? So it was really birthed out of that, just us being with these college students who they're ready to take over the world, and their excitement, and, you know, that type of stuff is inspiring, and it's, you know, motivational, and it's like, wow, they're ready to go. So it's kind of the same thing when you're a Christian. Like, you should always have that sense of urgency to want to leave your mark somewhere. So that's kind of where the concept of that album came from.
Cool. So then, when can we expect the new one, and what's it going to be about, and who's writing, and who's guest starring on it, or no?
Where are you putting this video out?
It has a very huge concept, just like Fingerprints, and it revolves around things like words like passion and urgency, and you know, emotions and those kinds of things, and how they relate with us as Christians. So it's a very inspirational album, but it's also a different level of music. You know, we did the boom bap hip hop. We did the club banging hip hop, if you want to call it that. We did the other type of hip hop, and now we're stepping it up to another level, or at least we believe we are. And it's just been a real challenge. It should be coming out the first quarter of 2012. We're very excited about it. As far as features, all that's not totally worked out yet. But I think if we can name one, it would be Ryan Stevenson, because he'll definitely make this one song that we did with him, and he's a CCM artist. So we're really excited about it. We're working on finishing it up, actually next week. So we're really excited about it. We just released a song this week called "Shine in the Night." We're going to release another song later on in the year before the album comes out. So we're just doing things to kind of get some momentum for this new album. So.
Okay, cool. So actually in your last album, there's a song on there that I wanted to ask you guys about. And I apologize, I don't remember the name of it. But in the song you're saying, "Let's go," and you're talking about how we are, everybody who believes in the same thing, let's just kind of unite.
Should approach music and art. So that, I guess, was a little bit of, I guess, commentary on that. Like, let us do what we do, and you do what you do, and, you know, everybody kind of works within their own gifting and within their own lane. So that kind of was kind of the concept around that, that this is what we do, this is what God has called us to do. So the greater purpose is that we're all doing it for the same reason, and that's to unite. Like, you know, the theme of Flavor Fest is unity.
Okay. Cool. So are you guys involved in other ministries besides the music?
Yes, we all serve in our local churches. I lead a young adult college age group in my church, and they work with their youth in the church as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
cool.
yeah, it's very important to us.
So do you guys even consider this a ministry, or are you guys making music to entertain?
Honestly, music to me, it's really just a tool. At the end of the day, like, I was doing music before I was saved, so I've always just loved doing music. I think I'm just a musician at heart. It's just better now because I'm a Christian, so now I'm able to use it as a tool to engage, you know, other people. Whether it's, you know, people in church, I'm able to engage that conversation with them. And kind of just connect with them on a musical level and use that tool to kind of create conversation. And then also I'm able to use it to speak to non-believers who just love hip-hop, especially as a female, you know, when they see a female, you know, rapping. So for me, I don't consider it as a ministry per se. That's just my tool to open the door for me to ministry. Ministry for me is when I get off the stage and I'm able to connect with people one-on-one, and I want to hear your testimony. Let me share my testimony with you, and let's relate, let's connect. How can I pray for you? What is it that you need? You know, how can I get you plugged into your church? Or that type of stuff for me, that's what ministry is. I think music is just, we're artists at heart, so that's just a tool for us to, bring forth the message.
Cool. So then what do you want the kids to get from it, from your music? What do you want them to walk away with?
For the most part, all the music that we've put out have had a common theme, and that is one of individuality, you know, and we really, really hone in on that. I mean, everyone's made differently with different giftings, as Juan said earlier, different weaknesses, different flaws and strengths, and so on and so forth. And God didn't give everyone different things for us to all operate in the same function. We're not all arms or legs or a body. And we just really believe that no matter what it is that your strength is, or the avenue that God has given you to work in, if you are faithful to what God has given you, then He'll, you know, the fruit will be there. Everything that needs to be done will be done. So we're just firm believers in individuality and people not, you know, doing things based on what someone else is doing, but based on what God has, you know, conceived in them, birthed in their hearts and in their souls. So that's what we really hone in on. Be an individual. You don't have to, you know, do things exactly the way that someone tells you to because it worked for them. Do it the way God tells you to. And, you know, I say that with some discretion, you know, as far as, you know, don't be a fool with it. But that's the general message that we have behind our music.
And we try to be transparent in a lot of our messages as well. We speak a lot about experiences, personal experiences. We're big on that, just being transparent and sharing our stories, because everyone has a story and you're going to be able to relate to someone's story. So we're big on that, and it's just, you know, as Christians, like, I want to be able to be an image to someone and say, wow, I like them because I can relate to them, and they're not perfect, because we're not perfect. So if I ever come up and say, oh, I'm perfect and I've got it all together, I'm lying, because no one's got it together. And I just never want us to be that group that, you know, we're trying to act like we're perfect because we're not. And I enjoy the fact that we've kind of been very transparent in who we are. And, you know, sometimes people will see that as a flaw because, you know, we're putting too much out there. But I'd rather it be out there. I want people to know that, you know what, you know, we have struggles, we have things that we deal with, you know, we have hard times, you know, our lives aren't perfect. But at the end of the day, like, we serve a God who gives us grace and mercy and gives us a sense of hope and a sense of freedom. And that's ultimately the message that we want to give people, is that, you know what, life might be horrible right now, but at the end of the day, like, God is your sense of freedom, so grab onto that.
Okay. So, Juan, you don't speak very much, so I'm gonna...
That was just awesome.
I actually read that from his notes.
Cool. So I'm gonna ask you the last question, and it's, who is Jesus?
You always get the ministry questions. I love it.
Jesus is the Son of God, who was born fully God and fully man, and because of our own stupidity, mankind's own stupidity, God had to send His only Son to come down to earth, to walk among us and to show us the way to God. So Jesus is everything, and He created that path so that our relationship with God can be reconciled and we can walk blameless with God. And He's everything.
Amen.
living, you know that this life can be challenging. Granted, we different but similar problems we face on the planet. We struggle and hustle and rumble to get out the jungle, but all we need is to huddle together